This is a one-speaker meeting. Please welcome our speaker tonight, Terry.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Terry, an alcoholic.
What's up, Terry?
Man, this crowd is fired up tonight. Marina Center. Whoa. From Yale to jail, man. We're all here. Woo! Maybe it's the coffee, I don't know, but everybody's sky high. The energy in this place is rocking, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to come. Thank you, Michelle, for asking me. A pleasure to be here. Pleasure to stand behind one of these things and not have to enter a plea, you know? Did that a bunch of times. Sounds like you guys did too, you know? Really grateful, just really grateful for my sobriety. Grateful to God for the Marina Center. This was the first place I ever came. I got 12-stepped here in 1978. Of course, I didn't get sober till 81, so it wasn't like I walked in and saw the lights in your eyes and decided, you know, this is it, I'm home. But I do want to welcome our new friends to Alcoholics Anonymous, because this is really our home. This is it. You've made it. So, you know, at the end of the meeting, we always say, keep coming back. And my good friend who's not with us anymore, Bill Witter, used to say, just stay. You know, just stay, you know. So I want to welcome you to Alcoholics Anonymous, and so many good friends in this room that I've seen so many years. And you guys are just my family, and I love you all. Thanks, man. Thank you. Yeah, thanks. Is that it? You know, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. Could you tell? CIA family, you know, Catholic Irish alcoholics, you know. My dad was a cop, and I don't know, you know, I grew up in the 60s. Drugs are a major part of my story. However, alcohol was always my number one deal. It was always my number one deal. But whenever I drank, I'd go looking for drugs, too. It was the same kind of thing, you know. And like I said, my father was a police captain, and he was English, and he was very, very rigid, you know, very uptight, you know, angry. He didn't drink. He should have. You know what I mean? He didn't drink. My mom was the drinker, you know. But my dad, he was obsessed with getting me ahead, and, you know, the way he actually expressed love was through discipline. And he would drill me the times tables, you know, forwards and backwards and all over the place, you know. And I never knew when Dad was in the house, because he's a cop. He's working different shifts all the time, right? So I'd be coming out of the bathroom and I'd hear, like, what's 5 times 8? You know, it's just like... If I could describe my childhood, it would be like tense. You know, never... Is Dad around? I mean, you know, my childhood, I feel like I was a freeze-dried alcoholic in my childhood years. You know what I mean? Just freeze-dried, just waiting for a drink, you know, just waiting. And my mom's last name is Ryan, and she was a party girl. She would love to have a few drinks, and she would bring the girls over. And the girls, probably 40, 50 years old, or to me as a little kid, you know, they seemed like really old women. And I had an Aunt Tilly. Believe it or not, I had an Aunt Tilly that made the strongest Manhattans in Manhattan, okay? And she would carry these batches of Manhattans, and the girls would come over every month. And my brother Richie and I have an identical twin brother who's also in our fellowship, okay? And him and I, we would sing for the girls, you know, because we were in the choir, the Catholic choir, so we would sing for the girls. And the girls would be actually drinking these Manhattans and slowly getting completely ossified. Completely drunk, right? But I'll never forget something. And I'm about, I don't know, 6, 7, maybe 7 years old. I would go around and get the cherries out of the Manhattans and just suck on those cherries, okay? And I'll never forget it, because that warm glow going down and the blush in my face, and I would just sing like there was no tomorrow. And the girls would get completely shit-faced, and we would have to carry them out. We're in New York, so there's blinding blizzards, snowstorms, and we're carrying, and all the husbands would line up outside in their cars, and we would literally carry the women out. Sometimes we'd put the wrong woman in the wrong car. You know, he'd say, "This ain't my wife." He'd go around the block, get in the back, get back in line. And my dad, he would just kind of shake his head. He'd have a sip of a daiquiri and go to bed. We called him Daiquiri Dan. You know what I mean? You know, he just wasn't into the party scene at all. And God bless him. He raised 5 kids in Brooklyn, New York. You know, he did a hell of a job. Worked really, really hard and gave us everything we wanted to have. You know, interesting thing. I don't know where I'm going on this, but interesting thing is that Dad really worked from patrolman to sergeant, from sergeant to lieutenant, lieutenant to captain, and he finally got the position where he was making the kind of money that, you know, he could afford all the things, because we were competing with the neighbors. In New York, my mother was really competing with the Italians, and the Italians had, you know, the Roman gods on the walls and plastic all over the furniture, and it was all like, you know, they used to have rooms, living rooms, that nobody walked into. They had it roped off. It was like, so my mother's trying to compete with the Italians, right? So my father finally gets in a position where we remodeled the whole house, got the Roman gods and everything else like that, right? And he's like 58 years old, okay? He was 58 years old, contacted cancer, and died 6 months later. Boom, like that, okay? Now, I saw that. By the way, I'm 17 years old at the time. And I'm already dropping acid like M&Ms. You know what I mean? And I see Dad pass away that quick. And I see what he did in his life. Struggled, saved, did everything he had to do in order to give my mom and us, of course, everything we needed to, you know, to be somewhat happy, okay? And when I saw him pass away like that, I said, you know what? Not for me. That's not going to happen for me. There's got to be more to life than that. Working your ass off all the time, struggling to get what you need to get materially, and then getting taken out like that. So I saw that. And my brother, my identical twin brother, he went to work on Wall Street, and I went to Haight-Ashbury. It's really what happened. And I don't know about you guys, but I've always been a seeker. I've always been after it. Just like, you know, who's got the answer? You know what I mean? I need to know why the hell I'm here. What the hell am I doing here? You know, I look up and I'm on this planet, we're hurling through space. All of a sudden, I've got consciousness, I don't know what's going on, and I've always been asking those deep questions, you know, the priests, and they just like, get out of here, you know? The hell out of here. So, you know, they'd give me these road answers. To be happy with him in heaven is why God made us, and I just couldn't buy it. Couldn't buy it, you know, and I started eating a lot of psychedelics, but I want to tell you, obviously, right? Obviously. Alcohol has always given me a sense of ease and comfort in my life. You know, I always felt like I was really, really high-strung, you know, really like, you know, real nervous disposition and very high-strung. My energy level seems, till this day, to be really, really high. And I'm always like hurling through space, you know. And drinking actually allowed me to feel like I've settled, like a part of you, like I fit in, okay? And I never really felt like I'm actually really fit anywhere on this planet, really until Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, so if you're not a joiner and you're new with us, welcome, you know, welcome, because none of us really were joiners. You know, but the amazing thing is that Alcoholics Anonymous is for all of us who aren't joiners to finally come together and walk together and stay sober together. So we're happy to have you, you know. So I saw that, and I really kind of dropped out. You know, I just dropped out in the 60s. I went to college for 20 minutes, you know. I went to an accounting class, right? And I have long hair, and I'm eating sunshine, and it's just like, you know, I'm sitting in the accounting class, and the accounting teacher says, next time, Mr. Smith, you come in this room, I want you to see it with a certain tie on, you know? And that was it. I walked out of the class, and I walked out of the college, and I never went back. And we had a friend of ours who used to deal dope in Brooklyn, New York. His name was Rock Bottom. And Rock Bottom moved to the Haight, and we followed Rock Bottom to the Haight, you know? You know. We heard everything was wonderful in California. We're freezing our ass off in Bliss Park in New York, right? Freezing, trying to deal lids and, acid and this and drinking in Sloppy Joe's and all these places. And we're hearing people from California saying, hey, you know what? Everything is free in California, man. San Francisco, dude, everything's free out here. Free love, free music. The Grateful Dead are playing in Golden Gate Park every day. As we hear all this stuff. So naturally, we move to the hate. Wow, what a deal that was. Completely crazy. It wasn't at all what I expected. True, the Dead in the Airplane played a lot, and we ate a lot of LSD. And eventually, we moved from San Francisco after an Airplane concert. We moved from San Francisco to Santa Cruz, and we had 13 people and 4 dogs living in one abandoned shack. It was toasty in there, I'll tell you. On one welfare check. We had one welfare check. And it was crazy, it was just a time when a lot of us were actually looking for answers. We really were. And we really were trying to change the world. A lot of us were really in a place where, we thought we could make a difference. And I think we did. Honestly, I do. I think we did make a difference. Look what happened to me. I'm an Alcoholics Anonymous. Big difference. And meanwhile, all my hippie friends didn't drink. And every once in a while, I'd sneak off, to the, recess room or, Big Ed's or some other place and drink because my love was to drink. I just loved where alcohol brought me. It just made me peaceful, and it brought. The problem was it's progressive, and it started getting worse and worse and worse. And I started having kids, and we moved from Santa Cruz down to Los Angeles. And I want to tell you why. I've always been looking for spiritual answers, and I found a devotee of God, in Santa Cruz. I went to a lecture, and I heard it. It made sense to me, and I moved to Los Angeles to actually come to the international headquarters of this yoga group, right? So in this yoga group, I was told, look, you simply chant this mantra, and your life will be sublime, absolutely sublime. So I figured, hey, I'm going to go for it. So I start chanting up a storm, right? I'm chanting every single day, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm chanting up a storm. I'm practicing the yoga. 3 weeks later, I'm drunk, in Sloppy Joe's, drunk on my ass in Sloppy Joe's. And I go back to the yoga group and keep trying, and I keep finding myself getting drunk. And I want to tell you why. See, what I wanted to do was simply go around the disease of alcoholism. I didn't really want to deal with what was going on. I just wanted to transcend everything. I had this big bag of rocks of resentments in the hole in my soul, and they weren't going anywhere. I hadn't done any trench work at all. I just thought, I'm simply going to chant this mantra, and everything's going to disappear. Well, my disease thought elsewhere. It didn't happen at all. And it got worse and worse and worse. And here I am now. I wasn't making it materially. I wasn't going to get a job and do the 9-to-5 thing. And now I can't make it, as a spiritual person, because I'm very comfortable, friends, by the way, in extremes. I'm very comfortable either being a saint or a sinner. But don't ask me to be human. Don't ask me to mess around with all of these kinds of, all the character defects and all the stuff that we have to deal with, I'm happy being one or the other, black or white. Don't ask me to be gray, which is, unfortunately, the human condition, Needless to say, I wasn't making it in the yoga group. I mean, they kind of frowned on me. They kind of frowned on me staggering down the street and falling on my face, I mean, they had compassion for me, but, hey, and of course, and I'm dealing dope and doing all that other kind of stuff, and it's getting bad, the disease is progressive, and I'm drinking out of control. Once I take a drink, the drink takes me. I have no control over the amount I take. And I don't really know people who are social drinkers. I mean, I never hung out with social drinkers. I'm still blown away by the whole deal of social drinking. I don't understand, do you? I don't understand people who actually will have just a a little drinky poo. I mean, if you're thirsty, have some water, have 7-Up, have a Coke. Don't waste good booze. I got a sister in Texas. She's not one of us, but she's in OA, okay? She's got her deal with jelly beans, okay? Like Easter is a really terrifying time for her. No, I swear to God. I mean, she hides in the closet on Easter. It's like, where's Tisha? In the closet, you know. But I go there every year. My twin brother, who's sober in AA, and she's there. And, you know, it's Thanksgiving. It's a great time for us to get together. You know, we thank God for our blessings and blah, blah, blah. We run the turkey trot in Dallas. It's amazing. It's fun. A lot of fun. You know, a lot of good stuff going on. But my sister doesn't have to deal with alcohol. She's got it with sugar, right? And jelly beans. So every year it's the same story. We go out in the yard, and she takes her little tiny little glass of wine with her in the yard, right? And she's talking to us, and every once in a while, she'll dip her little beak into the glass of wine. Continue to talk, you know. Every 20 minutes or so, she'll take a little tiny beak sip and continue to talk. And Richie and I are like, you know, just like fuming. Drink it or throw it over the fence, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? What's this, like... I mean, that would have been one gulp for me, the whole glass. One gulp, you know, and I would have been in there, you know. I don't understand people that lose drinks at parties. I never lost a drink at a party. I knew where mine was, and I knew where yours was, too. And if you lost it, I drank it. Anyway, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I got a plan for next Thanksgiving, all right? I just want to run it by you. Anybody looking? All right. What I'm going to do is when we go in the garden, okay, I'm going to have a jelly bean in my top pocket. She dips the little beak, I'll take a little nip off the bean and put it. You drink the wine and I'll eat the bean, all right? Two can play this game, right? Anyway, God bless. I've got a younger brother in Narcotics Anonymous. Richie, my twin brother, is sober 23 years. I was here 5 years, and he came in. And my sister is in OA. I mean, my whole family is just riddled with this disease that manifests in different ways. You know, it seems like we all manifest in some way, you know. And, you know, I didn't know what to do. I had children. I had 3 kids. We're living in the spiritual community. I'm coming home plastered all the time. And I'm an embarrassment to my family, of course. I got fired from my job. And I'm an embarrassment to my own children. You know, it's like, you know, the thing is that I was powerless. And I had no control. Now, I had no control once I picked up the first drink. But friends, I had no control to not pick up the first drink. And I made all the sweet promises you could ever imagine. Okay, all those things. You know what? I'm never, ever doing that again. Never. And you know what? If I had taken a lie detector test when I made that promise to my wife and my kids, I would have passed because I truly believed it. I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I'm never, ever going to do it again. And then 3 weeks later, I break a shoelace and I'm off to the races. Something happens, you know, you know. It's Thursday, you know. I hate Thursdays. Let's have a drink. And it's getting bad, you know, and I go on these runs, you know, these runs. I remember my boss said to me, you know, we love you. You're a great worker when you're here. The problem is that you're gone for 10 days, you know, and you know, what am I going to do? And, you know, I'd be at Sloppy Joe's, because when I drank, by the way, friends, I don't go to work. I mean, I don't go to work. I don't show up for life. That's all I do. I don't eat. You know, why waste good money on food when I can drink with it? Because I have that allergy that I'm going to drink until the wheels fall off. And really, that's really what happened. And I'll never forget one of the last binges I went on. I had a cold, and I remember in New York, people said to me, you know, a little apricot brandy is really good, you know, for a cold. And you know, it's amazing the mental obsession of this disease, and how I bought the lie over and over and over and over, again and again and again, even though I had already been through pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. Crashing cars, fired jobs, the wife, the kids, everybody throwing me out, you know what I mean? But still, all of a sudden, I have a little cold. Maybe a little apricot brandy would be good. It's amazing how I bought it. So off I go. Hiram Walker, half a pint, okay? I drank apricot brandy for 13 days. 13 days, pints of apricot brandy, all day, all night, right? And I wound up at the Lindblade Hotel over here in Culver City. Anybody ever make the Lindblade? No? You ain't missing anything. Lindblade at that time cost $65 a week, okay? And there was one bathroom in the center of the entire floor, okay? So not every room has its own bathroom. And you know what? I came up the back way, and there was no way. I was so sick, there was no way I could make it to that bathroom. And they had a dresser in there, so I would just open up the drawer, just heave into that dresser, shut it, pass out on the floor. Because, in that state, you don't come to. You don't sleep. You wake, you pass out and you come to. And that was really what my whole situation, that's what happened to me. That's what happened. Alcoholism brought me to that level where I could not stop drinking. And I would wake up with the shakes and I would drink again. But you know what occurred to me? I want to tell you about my alcoholic best thinking. What occurred to me is that the reason I'm getting sick is that I'm not mixing the apricot brandy with anything. Okay? Listen to this. So I go down to the Roach Coach, the on wheels downstairs, right? And I get chocolate milk. Right. So I start mixing apricot brandy with my chocolate milk, and of course, I wound up at Brotman Hospital. And I'd come home, and what would the wife say to me? She was just beyond anything like that, and she threw me out a number of times, and I was living on the streets in Culver City, going to Big Ed's. I don't know if anybody has ever heard of Big Ed's, but if you see the movie Barfly, okay, it's filmed in Big Ed's. Really a class place, I mean, if you're not alcoholic, you have no business in being in Big Ed's. And it was filmed there, and that was one of my favorite watering holes. So I really don't know what's going on. Culver City Police are, they're arresting me on a regular basis, and I have really nowhere to go. I remember I started drinking one night, and I really didn't know what the hell was happening. And I wound up at Ships. It's a Starbucks coffee place now on Overland and Washington, right? It used to be Ships. And I'm in Ships, and I'm plastered. And I remember something about a tuna fish sandwich. I don't even eat tuna fish, right? And I come out, and there's two hitchhikers say, "Are you going east?" And I said, "Sure, I'm an ex-hippie hitchhiker. Sure, get in, And off we go, and I black out totally on Washington Boulevard. And I smack into MGM wall going about 30, 35, 40 miles an hour. And I'm sitting there, and I come out of the blackout, and the hood of the car is against the windshield. And I'm just like, I turn around to them, and I just said, "Last stop," And they're like, I got out. I got out and just left them and the car because I had already been busted by Culver City a few times, Culver City cops, man. Whew. Tell you, man. I remember a cop pulled me over, and he opened the door, and I poured out onto the street. I poured out. He says, "How could you possibly drive like this?" And I told him, "I'm just too drunk to walk." And you know what? That was the truth. He didn't think it was funny. Asshole. He didn't think it was funny. And you know what? He busted me, but he let me wear the hat. He had a hat. I let me wear the hat into the jail. I get a peace sign. Right in the joint. Again, So I wasn't kidding about entering a plea. Anyway, I didn't know what to do. I was baffled. That's what the big book says, right? We're a baffled lot. And I didn't know. I could not stop. And then once I started, I was off to the races. And I had nowhere to go. And I got 12-stepped into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous by Pat Keneally and Jim Sullivan. Both are dead right now. And, Yeah, they both died, and they brought me here. They brought me here in 1978. And I came in, and I loved Alcoholics Anonymous from the very, very beginning because I heard the way you drank and used, and I went, yes. Because, you know, I was experiencing things like my sister Tisha and other people who, you know, I'd be at Big Ed's or someplace or Sloppy Joe's, and my friend Bruce would say, listen, I've got to leave. My wife has dinner on the stove for me. And I would go, you know, you have the power to actually get up and go home and have dinner with your wife? Because I didn't have that power, friends. I just didn't have it. I'm staying for the duration. Really. I'm just staying. I'm drinking and I'm staying. That's it. That's just the way it is. By the way, I also have that same kind of allergy with cocaine. Okay? Alcohol and cocaine, that floats my boat. Okay? I don't have it with other substances, other drugs, but with alcohol and coke, I'm gone. I'm totally powerless, you know. So, you know, I really didn't know what to do, and I came in and I started listening to you guys, and I just wanted to hang out. Like, tonight is a really far-out night. Everybody's here, and we're rocking and talking. It's great, you know. I drove by, and I love Alcoholics Anonymous, because you look, and you see everybody's talking, and nobody's listening. Everybody's like... I said, yeah, man, this is home for me. This is where I belong. I love it, man. We are not a glum lot, right? I mean, definitely not. We have a lot of fun here. Thank God. Thank God we do, you know. Yes. And I came in and I hung out and, you know, what happened was I didn't want to really work any steps. I really didn't want to work the program. Now, I heard Chapter 5 read at every single meeting. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. You know, right? I didn't really understand that that's the real process of recovery. I thought I could just hang out with you guys, and I did. So I started practicing a program. It's not a 12-step program. It's a program that I call osmosis. Okay? And what I did is I sat my ass in the seats of the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous and tried to absorb as much recovery as I possibly could. Right? I made it 3 months. Boom. I made it 6 months, went out. One time I made it 9 months. So the first couple of years, I tried practicing osmosis, and it really, really didn't work. You know, the AA triangle obviously has 3 sides: unity, recovery, and service. You know, unity is the fellowship. It's the meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, and they're very, very important to me. I still go to a bunch of meetings because I love it, and I need to remember what my primary purpose is. I can get distracted so easily out there. I have to remember every single day. So I go to a lot of meetings, you know, into the fellowship. Recovery, obviously, is the steps, and then service, you know, carrying the message. But obviously, I can't transmit something I haven't got, so I have to do the work myself, you know. And the work really is in the steps, you know. So I'm here trying to practice osmosis, and it's just not working. And, you know, I'm really baffled. And I remember flying back from New York on Christmas Day. And I was in a lot of despair because that was my last drink. I went to Brooklyn, New York with my CIA family, Christmas 1981. And I thought somehow I'm going to stay sober because I went to a few meetings a week, and 2 meetings a week, actually. And it didn't happen. I walked in, and my whole family literally is drunk and having a great time and jumping on the furniture and dancing and singing Christmas carols and everything. And I went out and I had a Coke. And I looked like Peabody. I kind of went. And I sat on the couch and, yeah, Merry Christmas, and, you know, feeling sorry for myself. And I went out and I poured rum into the next one. And I like to say I only had 5 drinks, but I had these big tumbler. It was like really big. And that was my last drink. And I never knew it was going to be my last drink, because if I did, I probably would have had another, you know, to be honest with you. I came home in complete despair. I remember like sobbing on the way home on the plane. I landed, and it's not like I rolled up my sleeves. I got to work. I decided I'm going to call my sponsor. Let's get working on the steps, because my sponsor was telling me, hey, you know what? You really need to work the steps. And I'd say, yeah. The second Tuesday of next week, we'll get right on it. You know what I mean? I kept putting him off. And he kept telling me, look, it's okay, because there'll come a time where a person like you will either seek the solution, the sense of ease and comfort, or and get into the steps, really work the steps in order to save your life, or you will drink again. And that's really the truth, friends. That's really the truth. For a guy like me, the big book says there is no middle-of-the-road solution. You know, when I first came to Alcoholics Anonymous, we had a group that said, work the steps or die, motherfucker. You know? And I just stayed away from that group, you know? Fucking radicals, man, Nazis, step Nazis. And now I've become one, you know? So what are you gonna do? Anyway, you know, Alcoholics Anonymous is my whole life. I'm a complete result of Alcoholics Anonymous. I was a drunk in the streets in Culver City, you know. I've been blessed now with a bunch of people that I sponsor. I love them all, you know. It gives me a sense of ease and comfort when I come to Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, when I get crazy, I don't go to church. I come to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. And you know why? Because you know my brand of insanity. You do, you know. What goes on here, you know, my girl gave me a button. It says, does the noise in my head bother you? I have a button. And when I wear it out there, people go, but I wear it in here and you all go, yay, I love that. Everybody identifies the noise in my head, you know, and it still rumbles, you know, it still rumbles all over the place. And I just say, thank you for sharing, but we're going to go to a meeting, you know. You know, well, the blessing is that the obsession has been removed. The thoughts still come, but the obsession is removed by the grace of God and by people like you in rooms like this. So blessed to be here tonight. God bless. Happy New Year. Let's have a great, sober New Year. Thank you so much.